We have a big story here about Ubisoft potentially looking for acquisitions of certain IPs from Xbox and EA and others potentially involved in this discussion. State of Decay 3 could be closer than we expect. Maybe we will see it soon. Another big Xbox game should be hitting the consoles and PC relatively soon. We have some information about Capcom as well as some other acquisitions that have occurred. So we'll talk about that plus more. If you enjoy daily gaming news and content, hit the subscribe, share the video, like the video, all of that stuff. And let's jump right into it here with a big news story here about Ubisoft. As we know, Assassin's Creed Shadows is just around the corner. March 20th, this game releases, 8 days away. I'm looking forward to this game. I think everything we've seen so far on it, gameplay-wise, aesthetic, combat, all that stuff looks like it is going to be a ton of fun. This game has been delayed, though, twice. And the first one was probably because of the controversies and they were trying to fix things up and make sure it was fully polished. Second one probably just needed a little bit of extra things here. A month doesn't really allow you to do too much in improving the game. But leading up to all of this discussion about Assassin's Creed Shadows, as well as Ubisoft as a whole, has been Ubisoft being mismanaged and just a lot of things going wrong at the company, which has had calls for them to sell off, for the Guillemot family to sell off the company and move away from it so that Ubisoft can get on track. My opinion is I think selling to a company like Tencent would be worse than Guillemot family figuring it out and getting good management in there and bringing Ubisoft back to prominence because it is a staple in the gaming industry. The other thing that we've also heard that potentially could have been happening was them having discussions about selling off IPs and then streamlining with a more focus on a certain amount of IPs at Ubisoft themselves. And it looks like this has been happening. Xbox and Microsoft have been involved in these talks, but shareholders are pissed off because apparently this was not communicated to them and they believe this has hurt their investments and devalued the stock and everything. So we have this article here, comes via IGN, saying that Ubisoft shareholder plots protest outside Paris HQ, accusing the company of failing to reveal discussions with Microsoft, EA, and others. And they are allegedly interested in acquiring IPs. And you sit back, you think about some of the IPs that we've been waiting to see more about, like Splinter Cell. I would be for them selling that off to a developer that really wants to make the game, if that's what they truly want to do here, because we definitely need another Splinter Cell or a Rayman and everything. That would be very cool to see. But we have this here, a minority shareholder in Ubisoft attempting to organize a protest outside the company's Paris headquarters, accusing it of failing to disclose the discussions with Microsoft, EA, and other publishers reportedly interested in acquiring its franchises. This is Yuri Krupa, the CEO of AJ Investments, claiming that Ubisoft is horribly mismanaged by current management and wants a clear roadmap for recovery. And they believe that declining shareholder value, lackluster operational execution, and failure to adapt effectively to market trends is everything that is happening here and what has been the downfall of Ubisoft. And they also are accusing Ubisoft of hiding information, including the Assassin's Creed Mirage DLC partnership they created with the Saudi investee firm Savvy Group, something that we did talk about on this channel. I think Assassin's Creed Mirage was a good game. Did not expect any further content from it. I thought it was one of those stopgap games while we wait for Assassin's Creed Shadows. But it looks like there could be some more DLC coming, which I would play because I enjoyed AC Mirage. It brought you back to these smaller, more stealthy Assassin's Creed games. Now, Ubisoft has responded to this, but the big thing, obviously, is the acquisition talks of IPs. Xbox, EA, what are they trying to get out of Ubisoft? Which IPs would they like to take over? And you can just think of all the IPs that they do have. I mean, maybe someone's even trying to get in there and finish off Beyond Good and Evil 2 for them and acquire that IP and get all of the assets that they've already created for it. Who knows what will be happening here, but games like Splinter Cell or IPs like Splinter Cell come to mind instantly when it does come to Ubisoft. Prince of Persia, I know they are remaking that, but again, maybe they're looking at that and thinking we can sell this off and have somebody else make it and make a good amount of money on it. That's something that I would love to see happen if it means these games will be coming out and be done in a good and proper way. The other thing here is, like I said, Ubisoft did respond to IGN and they say, as we mentioned during our Q3 sales, the review of various transformational, strategic, and capitalistic options is ongoing. The board has established an ad hoc independent committee to oversee this formal and competitive process so as to extract the best value from Ubisoft's assets and franchises for all stakeholders. Ubisoft will inform the market in accordance with applicable regulations if and once a transaction materializes. And they did say that. I remember that fully because we covered this story back when there was more stuff going on, more developments about what was happening at Ubisoft. They did mention here that they were talking in some way about what is the best way to make a deal, whether that is just franchises. But it does get you starting to think that, are we going to be hearing some major IP acquisition announcements this year from Xbox specifically? Because I would think EA, yeah, they'll probably try to get in there, but Xbox does have the capital, and that's what they're kind of trying to build up here, is to become an even bigger publisher than they currently are. And if they can grab some more major IPs that will sell, they will go out there and make that acquisition, which again brings up that whole discussion and absurdity when people say Xbox is dead or dying, being just absolutely obsolete, because I think they're still going out there. I think they're still trying to make acquisitions, and I think they're still trying to get more content for their subscription service and for the future of their hardware and Xbox ecosystem. But I wonder which ones are for sale. It's not going to be Assassin's Creed. You can pretty much bet on that. It's not going to be Rainbow Six. So I wonder what it is. Are there IPs that we don't know about that are in the works? Stuff like that. We'll see what happens here in the future, but there's a protest that's going to be happening here. They're organizing it. I wonder if that will have any effect on the future of Ubisoft and what they do end up deciding to do. But let's jump over here. Let's talk about another IP from Xbox, and that is State of Decay 3. I'm really looking forward to this one. I enjoyed State of Decay 2. I think State of Decay 3 is going to be a massive jump because Undead Labs now has that huge backing and resources behind it from Microsoft and Xbox. And from everything that we are hearing about this, from the small trailer that we did see where they kind of showed off a bit of gameplay, it looked very, very cool. I'm wondering here if this is something we are going to see at the Xbox showcase in June, where we just get a lot more information about this game, whether it does release in 2025 or in 2026. But Jess Corden seems to think here that the game is closer to being finished than we actually think. This was via the Xbox 2 podcast, and he says, Microsoft were considering State of Decay 3 for 2025 as well. It's closer to being finished than you would think, but I think they are going to let that one slip to 2026. I'd bet money that a 2026 game like early 2026. So he thinks it's going to be a 2026 game, an early 2026 game. I agree with that. I think that is going to be the case. I would be shocked if State of Decay 3 does come out this year, but you do also have to go back and look. They moved Fable to 2026. Will there be something to take its place? Something that we don't really know about right now or wouldn't expect to be released this year that they are going to announce and tell us here at the Xbox showcase. I think this year's showcase, as it's been for the last number of years, is going to be phenomenal with the amount of games that they do have to show off. On top of that, there's all the rumblings about hardware and handheld and the next generation console. So maybe we see something or some information about that as well. So it's going to be a very, very fun show. But State of Decay 3, closer to being finished than we think. And we're going to be playing it now, probably within the next 12 to 14 months or so. We'll finally get our hands on this and see just the evolution and upgrade Undead Labs has been able to do with this game, from being just a smaller developer to being purchased by Xbox, and then now having all of the backing and resources behind it. Another game that is going to be adding here to the 2025 release schedule for Xbox, which is already an insane release schedule, is going to be the Oblivion Remake. I think we're going to see this one relatively soon, and we do have some more info on that here. It says here that Bethesda's Oblivion Unreal Engine 5 remake could be releasing sooner than you think. And again, this comes via the insider Nate the Hate, who we've heard a lot about, and whether you agree with him or not, or think he's a good insider or not, he has gotten a good amount of things correct. He's gotten stuff wrong, but he has gotten a good amount of things correct. So I always listen to what he says and look at it with a little bit more legitimacy than other insiders that we do see come out with their claims, but it does say here that the Oblivion remake is set for reveal in the coming weeks, and a claim VGC has corroborated. So Video Games Chronicle has corroborated with their own sources. He's claiming that it will likely release before June, while sources have told VGC it could arrive as soon as next month, which is nuts to think about, because that means this is not a game that they are going to use in a highlight for a second half of 2025 release at the Xbox Games Showcase in June, which again makes you have to start and think about what else do they have slated for the second half that we do not know about. I thought this was going to be potentially one that slots in to a month to take up that month, especially with Fable Gone. But if it comes out in the next month or so, if it's out in like April, that's insane. And I'll be very, very cool to jump into and play. What we do know about this game as well is that it is being developed by Virtuos, who they're established in 2004 and one of the largest game makers in the world. And it focuses on supporting the development of major AAA games or bringing existing titles to new platforms. They've previously worked on Call of Duty, Tomb Raider, Dark Souls, BioShock, Battlefield, Uncharted, and Horizon, and currently supporting Konami's development of Metal Gear Solid 3 Remake. And the game will be fully remade with Unreal Engine 5, which is so cool to see, because you know this is going to be a massive upgrade. And 6 reworked gameplay systems: stamina, sneaking, blocking, archery, hit reaction, and the HUD. And there will be improvements to the game's blocking system that have reportedly been inspired by Souls-like games. And they say sneak icons are now highlighted in the new system. So that is all the information that we do know about it, coming from a studio that has a lot of pedigree of doing this type of stuff. And it's going to be basically like playing a brand new game, which is awesome, because Oblivion is phenomenal. You can go back and play the original now and you will still enjoy it, but adding some life improvements to it, some quality of life improvements, always a good thing with these classic titles. So I'm excited for this. I hope we get this announcement. I wonder how they will do it. Will it just be a shadow drop? Will it just be a part of a Game Pass announcement? Or are they going to have a show or something and show off this game and say that it is coming out in April or May or something along those lines? Okay, let's talk Capcom here, because Capcom, they've been releasing banger after banger. Monster Hunter Wild just came out doing phenomenally well. We're looking forward to the next Resident Evil. The previous ones that they've been releasing have been good. The remakes as well as the new ones in the mainline series like 7 and 8. Well, they are in a golden era, they say here, as they're just continuously trying to keep this streak alive. This comes via Ryozo Sugimoto, who is the head of the Monster Hunter team. It says the company is going through a golden era right now, and that it has everything to do with, can we make this one last one more year, specifically saying Capcom is going through a golden era, and well, now we have to do everything we can so that this lasts one more year, and every year, one more year. Hopefully we can extend it as long as we can. And then you have Street Fighter's Takayuki Nakayama, who says that they are close to saying basically the same thing here about the golden era, saying it's a very exciting time to be at Capcom right now. A lot of us are able to get excited about what we're working on and are able to focus on things that we think are fun. So yes, I guess a golden age may be one interpretation of that. And then they also give a little bit of information on the reinvention of some of their franchises. If you remember with Resident Evil 7, that was a pretty big jump with the whole first person and everything. And then Monster Hunter World, I think that was the first game that really appealed globally to a lot of people. They say the fact that we called it Monster Hunter World is really kind of a nod to the fact that we wanted to appeal to this worldwide audience, that we wanted to really dig into and experience Monster Hunter for the first time. And I believe for me, Monster Hunter World was my first experience with Monster Hunter. Now I'm playing Wild, so they did definitely a good job with that. But Capcom is in a golden era. They have been knocking it out of the park with every release. You just know when a new game comes out that it is going to be good, and hopefully they can continue that, because it's been great for gaming and great for the industry. All right, a couple more things here. We do have an acquisition and another studio closing down. So this was actually quite a big acquisition if you like mobile games, and that is Niantic Games. They have been acquired by Scopely for $3.5 billion. And this is coming a couple weeks after we were hearing about Niantic potentially selling. Well, now it is official. They say here that the deal has been made official, and just As it was mentioned previously, the buyer is Scopely for $3.5 billion, though Niantic is contributing an extra $350 million of cash for the benefit of stakeholders. Now, this is a Californian company. It's already the second biggest mobile publisher per revenue, and they say it's very far from Tencent, who is the leader. But they have games like Monopoly Go, Marvel Strike Force, Star Trek Fleet Command, and more. And now we'll add Pokemon Go, Pikmin Bloom, and Monster Hunter now, as well as companion apps, Campfire and Wayfair to the company. So this is going to be a dominant mobile gaming company, and it'll be hard to compete with them. I mean, you look at Xbox with the acquisition of Activision Blizzard, one of their big things was how can they compete in the global mobile market with games like Diablo Immortals and as well as Call of Duty Warzone Mobile and the Candy Crush Saga and all that stuff. So they're in there as well, but this is going to be huge here for Scopely, especially with a game like Pokemon Go that I still see people gathered outside all the time doing weird things with their phone. And then I realized they're trying to catch Pokemon with this game. So it's a huge acquisition for the mobile gaming sector. And finally, Spectre, Divide, and Mountaintop Studios is going to be shutting down here over the next 30 days. They did put this out, a message from the CEO about the future of Spectre, Divide, and Mountaintop Studios. And basically they say here from their CEO, Nate Mitchell, that this closure is attributed to a lack of active players and incoming revenue to cover the day-to-day costs of Spectre and the studio. So it's just a game that failed, basically. It was another one of those first-person shooters trying to break into multiplayer and the games as a service game genre that just did not do well. It is very, very hard to break into that genre. That's why it's never a guarantee, especially when you see major companies like the whole thing that we were hearing with PlayStation, where they had all of these games as a service in the works that they cancel probably because they're looking at the current state of the industry and realizing it's not a guarantee. It's very hard, and they can't continue to sink money into these styles of games that have a high failure rate, especially after the failure of Concord. So another studio, a smaller studio here that is closing down because their game failed. Unfortunate, but it's just the way that everything seems to be going. I'm going to end the video there. If you did enjoy this video, hit that thumbs up. If you are new here, hit that subscribe, and I'll catch you guys in the next video.